Hello dear students, our lesson for today we are going to talk about dividing and multiplying decimals by 10, 100 and 1000. Let's open our booklet together, page 7. First lesson talking about dividing decimals by 10, 100 and 1000. As we said before that dividing the decimal by 10, 100, 1000, this means that I'm going to move my decimal point backwards or to the left side. How many steps? According to the number of the zeros I have in my number. So in question A, 15.5 divided by 10, here I have 1 0 in the 10. This means that my decimal point is going to move backward 1 step or to the left 1 step. So its position was between the 5 and the 5. Its new position is going to be between the 1 and the 5. So my answer is going to be 1.55. B, 29.7 divided by 100. This time I have 2 zeros, so I'm going to move backward or to the left 2 steps. 1, 2. So the new position of the decimal point is before the 2 directly. So here it is. So I'm going to write the 297, and as we said before, any empty space, fill it up with zeros. So I'm going to put the 0 here before the decimal point. So my answer is going to be 0.297. C, 157.5 divided by 1000. So here I have 3 zeros. So I'm going to move backward 3 steps. 1, 2, and 3. So the new position of the decimal point is before the 1 and put my 0 in the empty space. So it is going to be 0.1575. 1.57 divided by 10. 1 0, 1 step backward. So here is the decimal point before the 1. So my answer is going to be 0.157. E, 145.6 divided by 100, 2 zeros, 2 steps to the left, 1, 2, so the new position is between the 1 and the 4, so it's going to be 1.456. F, 25.38 divided by 1000, 3 zeros, 3 steps backwards, 1, 2, 3. Here is the new position of the decimal point, but here I have a gap or an empty space before the 2 or to the left of the 2 and before the decimal point. So any empty space, fill it up with zeros. So my answer is going to be 0.02538, and it's very important. Any empty space, fill it up with zeros. G, 12.6 divided by 10. I have 1 0, 1 step backwards. So here is the new position of the decimal point, 1.26. 13.8 divided by 13.8 divided by 100, 2 steps backwards. So here it is, the decimal point before the 1, so it's going to be 0.138. I, 596.8 divided by 1000, 3 steps. So 1, 2, 3, my decimal point before the 5, so it's going to be 0.5968. J, 0.13 divided by 10, 1 0, 1 step, so it's going to be 0.013. K, 54.3 divided by 100, 2 steps, so my answer is going to be 0.543. L, 15.36 divided by 1000, 3 steps, 1, 2, 3, and as we can see that there is going to be an empty space, so I'm going to fill it up with 0, so my answer is going to be 0.01536. M, 17.67 divided by 10, 1 0, 1 step backwards, so it's going to be 1.767. N, 95.4 divided by 100, so I'm going to move 2 steps, so it's going to be 0.954. O, 982.1 divided by 1000, 3 steps, so my answer is going to be 0.9821. P, 8.073 divided by 100, 2 steps, so 0.08073, where there is going to be an empty space which I'm going to fill it up with a 0. Question number 2, this time they are asking you to complete by the 10, the 100 and the 1000. You yourself are going to say how many steps did the decimal point move. So in question A, 14.8 divided by what? Give me 1.48. Let's see. Here was the position of the decimal point between the 4 and the 8. It moved backward 1 step. This means 1 step, which is 1, 0. So I divide the number by 10. B, 123.7 divided by what? Give you 1.237. The original position of the decimal point was between the 3 and the 7. It moved backward 2 steps, so it is going to be divided by 100. C, 25.56 divided by what? Give you 0.2556. Here was the original position between the decimal point between the 5 and the 5. It moved 2 steps, so this means I'm going to divide it by 100 where it had the 2 zeros. 0.15 divided by what? Give you 0.015. Here was the position of the decimal point. It moved backward 1 step, so I'm going to divide it by 10. 14.4 divided by what? Give you 0.144. The point was between the 4 and the 4. It moved backward 2 steps, so this means I have 2 zeros, which is in my 100. 17.6 divided by what? Give you 0.176. Here, the point was between the 7 and the 6. It moved backward 2 steps, so 2 zeros, which is in the 100. 83.2 divided by what? Give you 0.0832. The decimal point was between the 3 and the 2. I moved 1, 2, and 3 steps, which mean 3 zeros, so it's divided by 1000. 9.5 divided by what? Give you 0.095. Here was the position of the decimal point between the 9 and the 5. I moved 1, 2 steps, 2 zeros, so it is 100. Okay, let's open our booklet, page 8. This time we are going to talk about multiplying the decimals by 10, 100, and 1000. Let's say this time my decimal point is going to move in the opposite direction, where in multiplication the decimal point move to the right side or move forward. We are going to follow the same steps. How many steps it will move? It will move according to the number of the zeros we have. Is it 10 or 100 or 1000? But this time it is moving to the right or forward, and where we say in multiplication the number must become bigger. So here, first question, 3.75 times 10, 1 0, 1 step, so here it is. So the new position is going to be between the 7 and the 5, so it's going to be 37.5. 4.37 times 100, 2 zeros, 2 steps, 1, 2, so it's going to be 437.0, and as we said from grade 4, we can erase the decimal point and the 0 such that we don't have anything else after it. 48.6 times 1000, so I have 3 zeros, 3 steps, so let's count. 1, 2, 3, my decimal point. Any empty space, fill it up with zeros. Here is the first one, second one. After the decimal point there is a 0, which we can erase. So my answer is gonna be 48,600. Let's follow the same steps. 15.6 times 10, 1 step, so it's gonna be 156. 6.879 times 100, 2 steps, so the decimal point is going to be between the 7 and the 9, so the answer is going to be 687.9. 4.79 times 1,000, 3 zeros, 3 steps, 1, 2, 3, decimal point, any empty space, fill it up with zeros. So it is gonna be 4,790. As you can observe or you can see that any number is becoming bigger. 17.8 times 10, my decimal point moved one step, so it's gonna be 178. 9.3 times 100, it's gonna move 2 steps. There's going to be an empty space, so I have to add the 0. 0.234 times 1,000, 3 steps, 1, 2, 3. So it's gonna stop by the end of 4, so my answer is gonna be 234. 3.1 times 10, moving 1 step, so it's gonna be 31. 7.02 times 100, 2 steps, so it's gonna be 702. 9.003 times 1,000, 3 steps, so my answer is going to be 9,003. 0.56 times 10, 1 0, 1 step, so my answer is going to be 5.6. 0.1234 times 100, 2 steps, so my answer is going to be 12.34. 6.3 times 1,000 is going to move 3 steps, so my answer is going to be 6,300. The same in division, we are going to apply here in multiplication. This time they are asking you to complete by the 10, 100, and 1,000 according to the movement of the decimal point. So here, 4.8 times what will give you 48. So as you can see that the decimal point was between the 4 and the 8. It moved 1 step, so 1 0, which is in the 10. 6.37 times what equals 637. My decimal point was between the 6 and the 3. It moved 2 steps. Here it is. This is the new position of the decimal point where here we said when I have a decimal point and the 0, I can just erase them. So it moved only 2 steps, so it's going to be multiplying by 100. 5.9 times what equal 590. Here it was the decimal point. It moved 1, 2 steps, so I'm going to multiply by 100. 3.756 times what equals 3,756. The decimal point was between the 3 and the 7. It moved 1, 2, and 3 steps. So I have 3 zeros, which is 1,000. 9.32 times what equal 9,320. My decimal point was here. I moved 1, 2, 3 steps. This is the new position of the decimal point, so I moved the 3 steps, 3 zeros, 1,000. 4.15 times what give me 41.5. So as we can see, it moved just 1 step, so I'm going to multiply by 10. 8.39 times what equal 839. It was between the 8 and the 3. It moved the 2 steps, so it is multiplied by 100. 6.325 times what equals 6,325. I moved the 3 steps, so 1,000. 1.578 times what give me 1,578. I moved the 3 steps, so I multiplied by 1,000. 62.359 times what equal 6,235.9. I moved the 2 steps, so I multiplied by 100. 8.6 times what equal 86. My decimal point moved 1 step, so it's gonna multiply it by 10. 5.27 times what equal 5,270. My decimal point moved the 3 steps, so I multiplied it by 1,000. Open your booklet, page 9. Here, this is a collective exercise about dividing and multiplying by 10, 100, and 1,000. Okay, let's remember together again. When I'm going to divide, I'm going to move backwards or to the left. When I'm going to multiply, I'm going to move forward or to the right. A, 14.6 divided by 10, one step to the left, so it's gonna be 1.46. B, 64.21 divided by 1000, divided to the left, 3 steps where I have 3 zeros, 1, 2, and 3. An empty space is found, so I have to put a 0. So my answer is gonna be 0.06421. 537.1 divided by 10, division to the left, 10, 1 step. So here it is. So my answer is gonna be 53.71. 6.24 divided by 100, 2 zeros, 2 steps. So here is an empty space. I'm going to fill it up with 0. So my answer is gonna be 0.0245. 0.0624, sorry. E, 65.36 divided by 1000, 3 zeros, 3 steps, 1, 2, 3. An empty space is found. I'm going to fill it up with 0. So the answer is going to be 0.06536. F, 3.2 times 10. This time, this question is multiplication or time. So this time I'm going to move forward or to the right. So one step, it's going to be 32. 72.14 times 100, 2 zeros, 2 steps to the right. So my answer is going to be 7,214. 9.7 times 100, 2 zeros, 2 steps to the right. So it's going to be 1, 2, any empty space, fill it up with 0. So it's going to be 970. 3.25 times 1000, 3 zeros, 3 steps forward to the right. So my answer is going to be 3,250, where there is going to be an empty space which I have to fill it up with 0. 3.6 times 1000, 3 zeros, 3 steps to the right. So it's going to be 3,600. Question 2, you are going to complete by the 10 or the 100 or the 1000. A, 15.235 times what give you 152.35. As you can see that your decimal point was between the 5 and the 2. It moved 1 step forward, so I'm going to multiply it by 10. B, 0.0251 times what give you 25.1. Your decimal point, okay, moved 2 steps, so I multiplied, 3, 1, 2, 3, because it became between the 5 and the 1, so I multiplied by 1000. 4.625 times what give you 4,625. Your decimal point was between the 4 and the 6. It moved 3 steps, so I multiplied by 1000. 6.34 times what equals 6,340. It was between the 6 and the 3. It moved the 3 steps, so I multiplied by 1000. 8.4 times what equal 84. It moved 1 step, so I multiplied by 10. In question F, this time I'm going to divide. So 16.4 divided by what equal 1.64. As you can see, the decimal point was between the 6 and the 4, and it moved backward 1 step, so I divide by 10. G, 17.9 divided by what equal 0.179. So your decimal point was between the 4 and the 9. It moved, between the 7 and the 9. There is a mistake. I'm going to move backward 2 steps, so I divide by 100. 159.7 divided by what? Give you 0.1597. The decimal point was between the 9 and the 7. I moved backward 3 steps, so it's gonna be divided by 1000. 84.2 divided by what? Give you 0.0842. The decimal point was between the 4 and the 2. You moved backward 3 steps, so it is divided by 1000. 16.6 divided by what? Give you 0.166. Here the decimal point was between the 6 and the 6. You moved backward 2 steps, so you divided by 100. So by this, we make a quick revision on dividing and multiplying by 10, 100, and 1000. Thank you.